All right, guys, welcome back to Downtown Rams. As always, I'm Alexis Kraft, joined here with my co host, Jake Ellenbogen, and we are coming to you with a special live episode. That's right, if you are watching us right now, this is live for anybody who is going to listen to audio later. We're providing that context. But we are coming to you live to recap the Rams' win yesterday against the Patriots in Foxborough, 28-22. Jake, this was a game that I think most of us thought we were going to win. The Patriots have had a really, really brutal season. They're now 3-8 after their loss yesterday. They have a really promising young quarterback in Drake May, who I know you and I both really like. But we certainly had high hopes going into this game that the Rams would pull out the win, and they did. And we're going to talk about all the things that contributed to that win in a second. But Jake, first, you have a message for us.
I do. If you guys have not already, I highly recommend checking out Prize Picks. You can go over, sign up today, use the promo code JKBogan, and you are going to get $50 added instantly in your account when you play a $5 lineup. You don't even have to win, or you don't have to lose. You just get it, right? So you can pick 2 to 6 player projections. You pick more or less based on, for instance, Matthew Stafford. Let's just say it was at 250. I don't actually remember what the thing was. But if you put 250, he had more than 250. He threw for 295. So if you put more, that's a win. You can mix and match between sports, teams, all of that. So definitely check it out today. Use that code JKBogan, and you're going to get $50 instantly in your account when you play at least a $5 lineup. All right. Alexis, this game was very interesting because it's one of those things where you look at the record. New England's 3-7, right? And obviously, everyone just kind of assumed the Rams were going to win this game. But at the same time, I don't want to take any credit away from what New England has done since Drake May has taken over. Drake May is a very good quarterback already. He is going to be around for a long time, and we're not surprised by that. Neither you and I are. A lot of people in the comment section, I'm sure, are not. He's a very good quarterback, and he is just getting started. He didn't start the full season. They've had some injuries. They've had a lot of injuries on the offensive line. So this Patriots team, albeit they were 3-7 going into this game, I thought they were a little bit better than that. And I thought their defense, I was really impressed with what I saw against the Bears the week prior. When I went back and I watched that tape, they had 29 pressures on Caleb Williams. They had, I think, 8 sacks in that game. So to see what the Rams offensive line did in this one, going back to the rookie Bo Limmer at center, going back to Warren McClendon Jr., who filled in nicely against the Seattle Seahawks at the end of that game. This was again, I understand 28-22. I was really frustrated by this game being close because it shouldn't have been. But I just want to give props to the offensive line. I want to give props to Matthew Stafford. I want to give props to Blake Corum and Kyron Williams, 2 guys that unfortunately both were given pressures, according to PFF. I'd push back. I disagree. I tweeted out. Both of those pressures came on plays where you had just odd rush, essentially, where you have 2 guys coming at you and you only have 1 guy in pass pro in the backfield. And so essentially, what are you going to do? If you're Kyron Williams, if you're Blake Corum, you have to step into the face of pressure, but you can't block 2 guys, right? So they were both given pressures for that. I thought that was ridiculous. Great stuff out of Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. I'd like to see a little bit more of like a diversified approach in the receiving game. I did love the Colby Parkinson touchdown. I like the way they used Tutu Atwell to kind of open up the rest of the field. But it's weird, even though, they had 4 touchdowns. It just feels like this offense isn't quite where you want it to be. And I know that sounds weird saying that, but it's a weird year, Alexis. It really is. When you watch this team, this is a defensive team right now. And the offense scoring 4 touchdowns, that's great. And I hope they build off it. But it's just been weird. Like Kyron Williams was averaging 5.7 yards per carry and only had 15 touches, right? So I look forward to them building off this because they got the offense going again. But again, like 28-22, it was weird for this game to be close because, and I do think, that one call on Jared Verse obviously kind of changed things. But I was surprised that this wasn't like a 38-14 ball game, because that's what I felt like I watched. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, the Rams, I think it's kind of been the same story for them this season where it's like they don't get going until later in the game. And there's pros and cons to that. I mean, obviously, a big con is if the other team comes out and scores a ton, then the Rams are constantly playing catch up, and we've seen it not go their way. A pro is like, okay, they seem to kind of get the worst of it out of their system in the beginning, and then it can only go up from there. I do want to say for everybody watching right now, this is live. It is really bad weather where I'm at, and so my connection is very poor. So if any of this comes through choppy, it's definitely my fault. I apologize. So hopefully you can all hear and see me okay. My internet is totally fine. It's just the weather is screwing up everything in my house right now. So aside from that, yeah, you bring up kind of the run game and, Kyron Williams and Blake Corum. I think one of the things that we all would like to see a little bit more from this offense is more of a balanced offense. I think what happened is it's so exciting to have the passing game be good again, right? You've got Kupp and Nakua back, and they are so dynamic, and they allow Matthew Stafford to do so much. In a way, it kind of can become a little bit like we're forcing the pass at times, or we're becoming a little bit inconsistent of mixing up the run and the pass. And then Stafford was really, really good yesterday, obviously, but what we saw a little bit yesterday, and also with some other games this season, is the pass being super forced, where then we're all sitting there frustrated, like, Kyron is making those good runs, right? Like, he's getting the positive yardage. Why are you not using him? And I felt like we saw that a little bit yesterday. He had a lot of success, aside from a few plays where, the defense, blew it up. He had a lot of success on the ground, and I would have liked to have seen him get the ball more. But it's hard to complain about that when the passing game is working, right? And when you're playing a team like the Patriots, you're going to be able to throw all over them. So I can see why maybe the run game wasn't utilized as much. But I would hope that going forward, it just becomes more of a balanced approach, and we don't get away from the run game, because I think, as we all know as Rams fans, McVay, his instinct is to always get away from the run game, even when it's working. And I could see with having Kupp and Nakua back and the success that they're having, that maybe we just stop the run game, and then I think that could come back to bite us. But yeah, I was really, really pleased with what I saw, yesterday. Again, the offense, I think, is just inconsistent. It might have to do with the offensive line. Yesterday I felt like there was just a lot of plays where maybe we underestimated, the coverage, or, some things like that. But I felt like Matthew Stafford, who started the game yesterday with a couple big misses, right? Look at that first, offensive drive. He had some big misses, but then as the game went on, he was like electric. I mean, 4 touchdowns.
Oh, yeah.
And a couple big throws. So he clearly worked it out and got it out of his system. So yeah, I to circle back to what your question was, I do feel like it should have been a bigger lead. When you look at the final score, 28-22, I don't feel like it really tells the story of what we saw yesterday. But again, I think it just goes to the fact that when we're starting off games offensively, we really look out of sync, and we get there eventually, but hopefully we can work on that, as the season goes on.
Yeah, it was a weird game because, well, the Rams only had the ball for 22 minutes and 40 seconds. That is not Sean McVay football. That's not what he's trying to do. So credit them for finding a way to win a game like that, even though they absolutely dominated this game. And this actually goes back to a point that I've made definitely on an episode in the past. I mean, we've done this now 549. So I would assume I've said this probably multiple times. There is such a thing as being too explosive. Too explosive for your own good. There were a lot of explosives in this game. And it was a little frustrating because, you had the Kyron Williams 18-yard run, and, Puka Nakua, his explosive 37-yard play, and you don't even score on that one. That really irked me. But, a 69-yard touchdown to Cooper Kupp. And what those explosives do is it obviously shortens how, long the drive is going to be, because now instead of having to go 15 plays like they normally do, it seems like they always have to have these long progressing drives. Having those, explosives allow you to, get across the field pretty quickly, right? And the reality of that is when you have these explosives and you have a quick touchdown after a defensive stop, the defense is going back out there. So, it wasn't really, obviously it's not a bad thing because you're scoring points, but at the same time, I think that's what really contributed to the time possession disparity, because this is just not normally what the Rams, this is not the type of football they play. The Patriots had the ball 37 minutes of a 60-minute game. That's just not something that you normally see. So it was a very interesting game in that sense. Again, really, really impressed with the offensive line. I really want to talk on that because there's really not a ton to talk about with the receiving room. I mean, Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, you already know about them. They played great. It's great to see them get going. Puka Nacua had a little bit of a scare. He's good. They didn't really utilize Tutu Atwell. Demarcus Robinson went from having 4 touchdowns in 2 games to getting 2 catches for 19 in this one. So it's been a little weird with that. I like Colby Parkinson again getting that touchdown. Hopefully they can build off that and find something there. But the offensive line to me was huge. They only allowed 3 pressures, Alexis, only 3. And that is the best performance they've had all year. And that's saying a lot. And we could play the whole, well, what if, and what could have been, and all that. And I'll be honest with you, I'll be the first one to say, I think the Rams absolutely beat the Dolphins had they run out those 5 guys that they ran out on Sunday against the Patriots. I 1000% believe they win that game, because a big reason why they lost that game, when I went back and I watched the tape, Jonah Jackson just simply is not a center. And I know that's not breaking news or anything. And Joseph Noteboom isn't a right tackle. Noteboom has his issues, but I'll tell you right now, Joseph Noteboom, I watched him in person play against the Giants in a must-win game to essentially clinch a playoff spot last year at MetLife Stadium. And he was impeccable. And the Giants have a really good pass rush. So where did that Joseph Noteboom go? Well, he hasn't really played left tackle. He played left tackle to start the season, and he got hurt. Let's not forget that. So they have him at right tackle, and he looked like a fish out of water. And then you have Jonah Jackson at center, and this guy's snapping the ball over Stafford's head. And I think that was an issue, And so when you have Bo Limmer in there, this is what I mean when I say it was a weird day, but there were a lot of good things to like, because for the future, Alexis, Alec Jackson, he's good. I don't know if I'm paying him big money. Personally, for me, I would like to have them find, a big time left tackle. I mean, we've already talked about that. Joe Alt, Fashanu, we mentioned him multiple times. It's nothing against him, but he's probably going to want $15 to $20 million average annual. And I just don't think he's that type of player. Steve Avila, for the future, he's getting paid. They're absolutely going to pay him. They already have allocated funds for him. They are very excited about him. He is the real deal at left guard. But that's the weird thing. It's like the Rams had this plan that they were going to have Jonah Jackson at left guard and Steve Avila at center. And then right before, after paying $18 million to Jonah Jackson, right before the season, they decide, yeah, we're going to put Jonah Jackson at center. I don't know what led them to that decision, but I felt like that was self-sabotage. I mean, I don't think they even realized what they were doing there. And so now you have an $18 million offensive lineman on the bench, and you have a bunch of dead money because Aaron Donald retired, and you have dead money for, Brian Allen, right? So, and you have the money that, didn't work out with Trey White. So it does eventually kind of add up where you're like, yeah, this team's really good, but imagine how good they could have been if they spent that better. They spent that money wiser. That was kind of a theme in 2022, seeing them go out and get Allen Robinson. So I guess really what I'm saying in all of this is that you have Avila for the future at left guard. You have Bo Limmer at center for the future. I've watched enough of Bo Limmer. He's the real deal. He really is. I'm not asking him to be an all-pro, but he's going to be a Pro Bowler someday. And I think Rams fans need to realize he is a very, very good player. He's well beyond his years. And it doesn't matter that he was drafted in the 6th round. This guy is an athletic freak. but he also is very football knowledgeable. Okay. What I see is a guy that's comfortable in that position. When there are stunts and things get chaotic, he can communicate on the fly. That was something Jonah Jackson really struggled with against the Dolphins, and they ate Stafford alive because of it. So you have him, you have Avila, you have Dotson signed, and then at right tackle, I'm not trying to jump the gun here, but Warren McClendon Jr. looked really good. Like really good, to the point where I actually forgot he was playing. I just kind of assumed it was Havenstein. Now, obviously I knew it wasn't, but like my mind was just like, that right side is impenetrable. Like, so Warren McClendon Jr., another situation. We talked about, you look at Noteboom at right tackle, fish out of water. McClendon Jr. at left tackle looks like a fish out of water. He goes to right tackle, and now look at the way he's playing. So these positions, I understand. You see tackle, you see tackle, you see guard, you see guard. They're not as interchangeable as maybe you would like. Some players can do it, but it's like, I would honestly, and I know that sounds crazy, but I would compare it to left-handed, right-handed batters and switch hitters. Some guys can switch hit. I know, I have no idea why. There's no way I could switch hit. Some bat right, some bat left. But you're not going to take a right-handed hitter who's never hit left-handed and have him go on the other side and hit left-handed, right? You're just not in the major leagues. And you're not going to have a right-handed hitter or a left-handed hitter who's never done both be a switch hitter, right? You're just not going to do it. That's what they're essentially forcing Noteboom to be. That's what they were forcing Warren McClendon. And so I just really thought that you saw a really good balance on that offensive line. They need to roll with this the rest of the year. And I think they can really build off, the way that the continuity of these five. I think they can really do that. Of course, you're going to get Rob Havenstein back. So, you're not going to have McClendon there, but that's a really good sign that you have a guy like that in the back. So McClendon, Dotson, of course, Bo Limmer, Avila, and Jackson, Alec Jackson. And I'm not going to say it's the best starting five in the league, but I think that's top. I would say it's top 10. I would say that.
Let's address, because I've been watching the comments, and a lot of people are asking, what do we do with Jonah Jackson? What does that look like? Because now you've got, like you said, $18 million sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
I mean, what do we take another game and try to move Jonah Jackson around? We try to put him back at, guard. I don't know what the answer is. I just know that he is being outplayed, and he really struggled against Miami. I don't know if you have any thoughts about that, but I think it's tough when you're in a situation where you've given a guy a really big contract and immediately he isn't playing well.
Yeah, it sucks, but they've also been through this. Like, they give out bad deals. They do. They also make really good signings. I thought they got Cameron Curl on an absolute discount. I don't know how they got him the way they did. But yeah, the Allen Robinson deal, they had Robert Woods. I think they really wanted to diversify the receiver room, which is funny because I think they kind of missed the plot there. I had no issue with them getting Allen Robinson, but getting rid of Robert Woods felt like a mistake. And sure enough, Cooper Kupp gets hurt and all of that. But the reason it's funny and the reason I bring it up is they're doing the opposite, Alexis. I was actually just having this conversation with Blaine, and you look at the offense, and I think maybe the reason, and we were just talking about this, the reason they stall out, they have so many of the same pieces. I mean, I know that they went into it with the approach like Kyron Williams, Blake Corum, but they're very similar. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have that 4-2, 4-3 Davon A-chain that you can put in and he's just going to, guns blazing. He's gone. He's running for an 80-yard touchdown. You don't have that on the roster, right? So that's something. But then the wide receivers, Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are like the same type of player. And then you have Tutu Atwell, who could be your Brandon Cooks, but you don't use him as such. And then Demarcus Robinson is just kind of like a very, very, very discounted diet version of Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, right?
Well,
So like,
yeah.
you know,
Sorry, my connection cut out. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
no, you're fine.
But somebody in the comments, brought up like Jordan Whittington and how Jordan Whittington feels very, very similar to Puka Nacua, right?
Yeah.
You look at and they have some slight difference in my opinion, but theoretically, yes, they are like very similar. I've always viewed Jordan Whittington as like maybe I don't know if Debo Samuel is the right comparison because they are so different, but like
I kind
in
of like
terms of
that.
like a Swiss Army knife type, in my opinion, is how I view Jordan Whittington. But that also, you could argue, some people might see Puka Nacua that way, or like a little bit of like a budget Swiss Army knife, in Puka Nacua. So you're right. The diversifying, the talent thing might not always be like the Rams' strength, even though they might try to make it that way. A lot of people have been bringing up like the Blake Corum thing, right? And the Kyren Williams, like that's forever going to be a conversation until Kyren Williams' contract is up, or we see what the Rams want to do there. But yeah, I see a lot of that discourse. I saw some of it today. I think under Blaine's tweet, kind of about Kyren Williams, and everybody's like the discourse between, oh, well, like Corum was drafted to be there if Kyren got hurt. They drafted Corum to do exactly what Kyren Williams does. There's not a contrast there. They're the same, running back. Kyren can do a little bit more, in my opinion, at least as of right now. He's far better in pass protection than Blake Corum as well. So that, that's why that you see Kyren is the number one guy still. But, a lot of people are like looking at the draft next year and they're like, we need to draft that home run hitter running back, right? We need to get the guy that's like super fast. And I'm not against that. Sure.
But you already made your bed though.
But
like you have to lay in
right.
it,
That's what I'm saying.
Corum.
You drafted Corum, and I also don't think you can let Kyren walk. He's still on the team next year, by the way. But, I think you have to keep, unless Kyren has a major drop off next season, which I don't foresee. I mean, he's basically exceeded everybody's expectations so far. I think you have to keep Kyren because of what he does for this offense and allowing it to be so balanced. But then you also have to keep Blake Corum because you drafted him in the 3rd round and you're going to have to start using him, or, I just think you have to. I mean, you can't not use a 3rd round pick like that. So I think the discourse about running back is a little mute. Like it's fun, but I don't think, I think people who think that the Rams are going to go out and spend a 1st round pick on a running back next year, I just don't think it's happening. It would make absolutely zero sense. It's not a big enough need. So yeah, I mean, the conversation about the Rams drafting players that are all alike is certainly one to be had. I just don't know how important, it is. There's not much you can do about it at this point. So yeah, the Jonah Jackson thing we covered. I'm looking at the comments. I think we addressed kind of the Jordan Whittington comparison. Do we want to talk about defense now, or?
Yeah, no, I think we're good on that. I mean, the tight ends, to me, that's tight end might be their biggest need, because if you're going to have like this non-diversified approach on your offense, then you're going to need, and again, I'm going to use another baseball analogy because I already saw some people like, oh, I like that. For instance, like the Yankees wanted Blake Snell and they wanted Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who ended up going to the Dodgers, right? They didn't sign anybody after that, but they offered both of them contracts, which means that they've shown that they have allocated funds to pay a pitcher. So at some point, I'd have to imagine they're going to pay a pitcher. The reason I say that is because with the Rams, for instance, when you go out and you express something, okay, like, yeah, sometimes you can change your mind, but the Rams told you, or they didn't tell you. I reported it, and so did Jordan Rodriguez last year. Okay, they tried to trade up for Dalton Kincaid. I remember you and I were live, and I got the report. Oh, I got the deets that they were trying to trade up for Dalton Kincaid and Myles Murphy. I don't know why Myles Murphy. Nothing against him, but Dalton Kincaid would have been nice. He looks really good on the Bills. Then the next year happens, this year, and we're talking about Brock Bowers. And they really wanted to move up and get Brock Bowers. But guess what? They didn't get a tight end. They went out and they signed Colby Parkinson. So people use that and they'll throw that in the discussion. And what I would say is the draft happens after free agency. So they had Davis Allen, they had Hunter Long, they had Colby Parkinson and Tyler Higbee on the PUP list. Okay. And they still wanted to draft Brock Bowers. So I think they have to look at that in the draft. I do. And I mean, this is why I was saying that they should have gone out and gotten David Njoku. I think if you're going to keep this offense the way it is, and I'll tell you right now, Cooper Kupp is going to have to take a pay cut because that is a huge deal. And I know the Rams don't want to continue paying that. So if he wants to stay, that's going to be something that they have to figure out, whether it's fair or not. That's just the way football works. But that's going to have to be something. But if you're going to keep this the way it is, I really feel like they need a tight end that can, help over the seam, that can really kind of, mess with a defensive look. Because right now, no defense. And Colby is a friend of the show. He's been on before. And we love, I love Davis Allen. I know, I can say that. You guys saw me react when he was drafted. But none of those guys are like keeping defensive coordinators up at night. When you're having to game plan for Brock Bowers, George Kittle, Dallas Goedert, Cole Kmet, just any of those type of, tight ends, Tucker Kraft, they keep you up at night because they are so explosive and they break tackles. They're really hard to bring down and they make plays after the catch. And the Rams don't have that. A guy gets hit, Trey McBride, good one. A guy gets hit and he's down. Like, I love Davis Allen, but how many times have you seen him get hit in the thigh pad and he goes down instantly? They don't have a guy right now that's going to break those. So I know Higbee's under contract another year, and I love Higbee, but we don't know what kind of Higbee he's going to be when he comes back. So I do think that if you're looking at the draft, because I know a lot of people are asking about that, to me, tight end is their biggest issue, as it stands right now. To be fair, though, they have two tackles that are going to be hitting the open market in Nopum and Alec Jackson. So as of right now, they have most of their 22 starters coming back. But let's be honest here, they won't have their left tackle. So left tackle, tight end, and I guess linebacker. But I'm not, and we're going to get into the defense now. I really just don't like being critical of this defense. I think that they have been carrying the load here. And I'm just so impressed with the way they've all grown up so quickly. This is a defense that I've said so many times, I sound like a broken record, but they were counted out as soon as Aaron Donald retired. And it's just week in and week out. Where were these turnovers last year? Can you imagine if they just got one of these in the Lions game in the playoffs? It seems like every week now since the bye, they get a turnover. It's a forced fumble. It's an interception. It's Cam Kinchin's coming up with it. It's Braden Fisk. It's these rookies. This rookie class is crazy, just like the class previously. The reason why teams are trading all their picks away is because they can't draft on the level of the Rams on day 3. And the Rams just continue to find these guys. And it's really impressive. So, yeah, Alexis, what were your thoughts watching this defense work? Because I know a lot of people were very critical of, the way some of those drives went down and the discipline or the lack thereof. But you held Ramondre Stevenson to 3.7 yards per carry on 20 carries, right? And really, Drake May, while he looked really good, the only way that the Patriots had a chance of winning this game is dinking and dunking to essentially mitigate the pass rush. And that's what they did. They slowed down the pass rush. And shocker, this is what teams have been doing since Aaron Donald. So I think it came full circle for the first time all year. We saw it. This team has gotten back to where they were with Aaron Donald. It took more than one player to replace him, but they're back to where they were.
Yeah. I just want to again apologize, guys, that my connection is so bad. I know that the screen keeps freezing on my end for YouTube, so people are just like seeing me stuck in place. I promise I am alive. It's just my connection for whatever reason tonight. I think it's because it's raining super hard and storming is really bad. But Jake, back to the defense. I just think we're seeing a defense that gets better and better each week. Listen, they had moments against the Patriots that I didn't like. Particularly I think in the secondary. I think right now the biggest weaknesses on this Rams defense, I think, is corner and linebacker. That's not a secret. That's kind of been the story, for the entire season. I think, we can say that they need to improve there, but also point out that they've made some good plays. Roseboom has made some really bad plays this season, but I feel like in the past few games he's really stepped up, and had some good reads and made some good plays. The defensive front. I mean, this defensive front is phenomenal. Okay, I mean, what the two rookies in Jared Verse and Braden Fisk are doing is insane. Kobe Turner is playing super well. When you throw Bobby Brown in there, he's playing very well. Even the rookie Tyler Davis, he doesn't get a ton of playing time, but I've liked what I've seen from him. And then you look at Byron Young and as well, on the edge. I mean, this is a really, really good defensive front that could definitely benefit from a stronger linebacking core. That's no secret. And then I think the secondary is, a little bit hot and cold. I think, we've seen some plays, from the secondary that have looked really good. I mean, Cameron Kinchins, right? You talk about that game-ending interception at the end of the game is what everybody's going to talk about when they think of Cameron Kinchins, but he's also become a really solid tackler. I think he's improving in his reads. I mean, you and I were both very critical of him when the season started. He did not play well. He wasn't ready. He kind of got thrown into a bad position. I'll give him that, but I think he's really improved as the season has, gone on. Kobe Durant has looked really good. And, Cameron Curl is so fun to watch tackle. We've said it a million times, but he's so fun to watch play. So this defense looks really, really promising. They do have a lot of work to do. Like I said, I think they're missing that true corner one that I would like them to have. That I think, if it's me right now and I'm drafting in the first round next year for the Rams, I'm going corner or offensive tackle. Personally, like a true left tackle or corner. That's for a different show, a different time. But, the defense, I thought that they looked really good. I like that people are coming around on the defense. They have been keeping us in games. I mean, period. I mean, this has been, the story of the Rams this season has been the defense. And the offense is now getting healthy and they're getting there. But I feel like if anybody has just been critical of the defense, to maybe take a step back and be like, there's a lot of games that the defense have kept us in when the offense did not show up, particularly when there was a ton of, struggle and injury struggle on the offense. So yeah, I liked what I saw. I mean, I think Jared Verse and Braden Fisk are creating arguments for themselves for Defensive Player of the Year. Probably more so Jared Verse. But Braden Fisk looks really good. I mean, they both look really, really good. And I do appreciate when people call back to our draft stream about these guys, because I called Jared Verse and I called Braden Fisk.
You did.
So I will put it on my tombstone. I don't like to be like an I told you so person, but I do appreciate, the messages about that. I am glad that you and Jake, stuck by Jared Verse when everybody was trying to taunt us at the beginning of the season about him. And we were like, just wait. It takes more than 3 games. It takes more than 4 games. So yeah, I really like watching this defense play.
Oh, I mean, they're so much fun. To put it into perspective, the pressures per pass rush snaps on the Rams this year, Jared Verse is at a 0.17. Byron Young is at a 0.14. Michael Hoyt is at a 0.11. Braden Fisk is at a 0.12. And Kobe Turner is at a 0.11. Let's just put it this way. Anything 0.10 or above is considered good. Anything below that is considered below average. Aaron Donald last year had a 0.14. Byron Young had a 0.09 and Hoyt had a 0.11. This is deadly stuff. I tweeted it out earlier today, and I just don't think people understand how freaking good this pass rush is. And I don't think people understand, and I'm going to do it. I've had this kind of love affair for him. There's something about an underdog, but there's also something about a player that just gets a lot of flack that is easy to root for. And that is Michael Hoyt. I just think Michael Hoyt is an absolute baller. If I was Les Snead right now, I'm negotiating a contract to try to keep him in LA. He's 27 years old. You found him. Let's be honest here. When it comes to Michael Hoyt, the only reason he was a UDFA is because he came out of Brown, and that year COVID happened. So he didn't get a chance to go to a pro day. He didn't get a chance to play at a Senior Bowl or East-West Shrine Bowl or a Hula Bowl or whatever bowl. Okay. He didn't get any of the college all-star game opportunities. All he got, he had to literally do a virtual pro day. He had to take video of himself doing a pro day. That is all he had, and his tape. So what you found is a lot of these NFL teams back in 2020, they pivot to all of the Power 5 schools, right? Because everyone saw Power 5 schools. Everyone saw the college football because FCS didn't play really, and those schools didn't play. But the Power 5 schools all played. And so a lot of NFL teams were just going to draft the Power 5 school prospects. And that actually led to, this player in Michael Hoyt, who's just an athletic freak show. It led to him being, undrafted. And the Rams found him. And I was messing around with the relative athletic score, and because they never put it in there. So I took all of his numbers. Do you realize when people say, because they say all the time he's unathletic, he can't cover. Well, you're asking him to drop into coverage, and it's quarters coverage. So they were getting mad at him for allowing that, but it's like there's all this open grass. The entire point of this, by having this type of coverage, as we saw in the Super Bowl, Jared Goff was like totally just a deer in the headlights, against quarters coverage and Bill Belichick and the Patriots. The whole point of it is to force you to second guess things, right? Either make poor decisions or hold on to the ball, and it allows the pass rush to get there, right? So that's why they were going after, Drake May. They were throwing that quarters coverage and making him have to really think about where he was going. And that forced them, unfortunately, when you're playing quarters coverage and their plan is already to just dink and dunk, you're going to give up a lot of yards. You're going to give up a lot of catches. So a lot of people are getting upset about that, but I thought they did a nice job of keeping everything in front of them. When it comes to Michael Hoyt, though, this is a player, Alexis, if you took his athletic profile coming out of Brown, and this is why calling him an unathletic player just tells me you don't know football. Michael Hoyt would be the 71st percentile wide receiver athletically of all, and going back to like 1987, of all of the athletic scores that are in the relative athletic score database. He'd be in the 71st percentile as a wide receiver. I mean, he's an insane athlete. As a tight end, he'd be in the 90th percentile. As a defensive tackle, he's the 96th percentile. So like you see now, like, okay, this is really freaking good. Defensive end, he's the 93rd percentile. Linebacker, 91st percentile. This is a crazy athlete, guys. An absolutely crazy athlete. He ran a 4.21 shuttle. He's insane. So he played 50 snaps on Sunday, and it tells me that over time, Michael Hoyt has really turned himself into something on this team. And you could say he's replaceable and all that, and you don't need to bring him back. I disagree. I don't really think his role is replaceable because I think he's so different than what anybody would do to replace him. You have Michael Hoyt now. He has 85 pressures in 4 seasons with the Rams. They've paid him a total of $5 million. They've gotten 85 pressures out of a UDFA out of Brown for $5 million. They've gotten 85 pressures. They've gotten around 16 sacks, right? And this guy just continues to be consistent and help. And because he gets dropped into coverage and he's the odd man out, and you get him one-on-one with a Dallas Goedert, he gives up a lot of yards on that. And then people are mad at him. It's like, no, you don't understand. He is a crazy athlete. And what we're seeing with this defense and the change that they made is that now they're rolling with Byron Young, they're rolling with Jared Verse and Michael Hoyt all on the same field at the same time. It's their cheetah package. And I just absolutely can't get enough of it. And they can't either. They're having a lot of success when they get into that package. They're forcing a lot of pressure. Michael Hoyt is very important to what they're trying to do. And I just want to give him that credit because I don't think it's talked about nearly enough. And people need to stop hating on this guy because what he's doing is incredible. I mean, he is an absolutely freakish athlete, and he allows you can play him right up the middle, and he could be kind of like that linebacker, a blitzing linebacker. He can be on the outside. He can play in the trenches as a defensive tackle. He is a freak. So I'm really glad he's on the Rams because I think having him be in that cheetah package, which you couldn't utilize earlier in the year because Darius Williams was hurt and Trey White was playing corner, now you can utilize him and your defense is starting to look original. It's starting to have a different flavor than defenses in the past. And that there lies why, after the bye week, the Rams are one of the best defenses right now in football.
I agree. And, like we've touched on, this defense is so fun to watch and they're creating their own identity. A big thing that you and I talked about in many episodes is how it was going to take a while for this defense to kind of build chemistry with each other, regardless if they played well or not. There's just so many new faces. There's so many young guys. And I think what we're seeing as this season goes on is not only are they playing better because they're building chemistry and, they're learning their roles, more and more, is they're building a defensive identity and they all seem to have their role kind of locked down and they're all having more fun and they're all playing a lot better. And we are all having more fun watching them, which we can always enjoy. But Jake, in kind of closing out this episode, I think we should talk about Joshua Carty because I've seen a lot of comments asking us to talk about Joshua Carty. I guess, so the questions are kind of like, what's going on with Joshua Carty? I don't know that we can pinpoint specifically what's going on with him. I'm not particularly worried
I'm not
about
either.
it. I'm not. I think what we're seeing, we've seen some bad kicks. I don't know that all of them have been his fault. I'd have to go back and watch some. But Jake, I think that we talked about this. I'm like freezing on when we talked about this. Was it 2 episodes ago where we talked about Joshua Carty and we were telling everybody
So
I don't know. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, it's funny because, well, first off, did you see the U.S. Open this year? I think it was this year. Yeah, it was this year when Bryson DeChambeau won, but Rory McIlroy had a putt that was like from me to the microphone, and he missed it to win the U.S. Open. Did you see that?
I didn't. I didn't watch the U.S. Open, but I did. I feel like I remember hearing about something like that.
I'm a Bryson DeChambeau fan, so I was very excited. Although I like Rory McIlroy, but the point here is that Rory McIlroy missed a chip shot. They call it a chip shot. What did this rookie attempt? A chip shot field goal, right? And he kicked it off the upright. So my father actually sent this to me in a text earlier today, and I thought it was really good. The most accurate kicker in the history of the NFL has a 89.3 accuracy rate. Carty is struggling, air quotes needed, at 80% after his first 20 kicks. By the way, the all-time leader kicked 82% in his rookie year. Our best kicker last year was at 75%, and Matt Gay was at 80% last year for the Colts. Let's not overreact. And by the way, Matt Gay was a 77% field goal kicker his rookie year. I absolutely do not understand how people could be out on Josh Carty. Get over yourselves. For real. How on earth can you get on Josh Carty? Josh Carty is the reason you had points last week against the Dolphins. He had every single point. He actually hit the other field goal and Bo Limmer jumped. So it backed him up after he drilled the 52-yarder and he missed the 57. Josh Carty literally scored all the points against the Dolphins. The last thing I'm doing is throwing shade at that guy. And I guess really, Alexis, my issue is we've seen Sam Sloman, Sam Ficken, Cairo Santos, Kai Forbath, like Lucas Havrasik. What do you want to go back to them? Like that's my thing. Like, if Josh Carty was 50% of his kicks, right? I still would be against getting rid of him. You invested in him. You still have to give him time. But he's hitting 80% of his kicks. He's been great this year. He's got a leg where, people might not know that, but in pregame, if you pay attention, I've had these videos sent to me. He's bombing 70-yarders through the uprights in pregame. So he can do it. He's got the leg. He's got the accuracy. He was tough as nails at Stanford. Like, we were both high on Carty. I wanted Carty since November last year when I watched him at Stanford. Like, I'm going to stick by him, but it's not just because I liked him initially. It's absolutely insane to say that they have a kicker problem. They don't have a kicker problem. He missed a chip shot field goal just the same way Rory McIlroy missed a chip shot putt. Okay? This happens. These are professionals. They mess up. I mean, we see it all the time. Do you see Alvin Kamara, who's like one of the greatest receiving backs ever? Do you see him drop that like obvious? Well, I know you did because you're an Alvin Kamara fantasy owner. I saw your tweet about Taysom Hill, and I think I do have Kamara, but that infuriates me too. It's like the most Bush League thing ever. But anyway, the week prior when they beat the Falcons, and of course, what was it? Greg Olsen was on the call and he was comparing it to Aaron Judge dropping a pop-up in the World Series, which of course I had to hear that. But there you go. Another example. Aaron Judge drops a soft liner that you'll never, ever see him drop again. It just happens. These are professionals. You have to actually go out and do it. Like, they lost to the Dolphins. A lot of people didn't think they'd do it. Like, they lost to the Dolphins. The Dolphins went out and beat them. It happens. Yeah. And, when the Alvin Kamara won, this is one of the greatest receiving backs ever. And Carr throws a perfect pass, and he's like 60 yards downfield, and he just drops it. And it's just a reminder that no matter how good you are in this league, there's always humility. Okay. You're always human, and you're always going to be prone to making a mistake. And Josh Carty is a rookie. He will be fine. And it's absolutely insane to say that we have a kicker problem. If you want Lucas Havrasik back, be my guest. But personally, I don't. If you want Sam Sloman back, you're a psycho.
Yeah, I think it's too early for people to be acting the way that they're acting about Joshua Carty, in my opinion. I think he's made some mistakes. He's a rookie. I think he looks fine. And yeah, I mean, I do think in the NFL there's a kicking problem-ish. I don't think that this is exclusive to Joshua Carty. I think that, if anything, what we've seen from kickers in the NFL this season, it could be worse. It could be much worse. I mean, we could have Justin Tucker right now. And never would I have thought that that would be considered an insult. But I mean, you want to talk about kickers having bad seasons. Justin Tucker, arguably the greatest ever. I think people are looking for a reason maybe to freak out about something. Yes. I would like Carty to be a little bit more accurate, but I don't think there's anything to worry about. So hopefully that answers everybody's questions in the comments asking what we think of the Carty situation. I just think, people are being a little bit dramatic. And you know what? If the struggles continue every game, if we start seeing this every game, then we can all be like, you know what, maybe there's a problem. But again, he's a rookie. He's doing fine. Statistically, this is, not something I think that everybody should be getting worked up about. But
he's 16 to 20. He's 5 of 6 from 20 to 29 because he missed the chip shot, right? He's 6 of 7 from 30 to 39. He's 2 of 3 from 40 to 49, and he's 3 of 4 from 50 plus. So he's missed one in every single like split, but that's really accurate. Like I will take that. They lost games because they didn't have 80%. They had a 60% last year, if even. Lucas Haversick, I think, finished his Rams career. I think he had a 50%. So, yeah, sorry. It's silly to get on him. It's early in his career, and he's already shown that he has a leg. He's consistent, and the dude is absolutely fearless. Like, come on.
Yeah.
So,
And I think I said this before in the podcast. I met his dad in Chicago at the Bears-Rams game.
oh, nice.
Josh McCarty's dad was super cool to a lot of us Rams fans. And yeah, I got to have a good conversation with him, and he was awesome. And he had flown in from North Carolina, is where Joshua Carty's from. So that's where his family's still at. So shout out to Joshua Carty's dad, who was really nice to a ton of Rams fans at the Bears-Rams game, and hung out with us for a while.
And now leave his son alone.
Super cool. Yeah. And now leave his kid alone. God damn it.
And
Come on,
can I
people,
also
be
add
nice.
something to that? Because
Yeah.
this is also another thing, okay? Matthew Stafford doesn't look at social media. He's a veteran, whatever. A rookie might. So I was also having this conversation with my father. He was really into this today, really into this topic because, he's on Facebook, and I don't have to tell you what lies in Facebook.
Yeah.
But, he goes back and forth with people in a lot of these Rams groups, and there's a lot of really awesome people in there. But there's also some people that just have no idea what they're talking about. And they're like, get rid of Josh Carty. Bro, if Josh Carty, if there's any chance, think about this. Take it like this. If there's any chance that you could kill his confidence by complaining about him on social media, why would you? What are you gaining by saying you want this guy gone? Like, really, you're not gaining anything. The only thing that can come of this is negative. You think Josh Carty's going to all of a sudden kick better because he's like, oh, the fans are getting on me? No, he's a human being. If anything, it would go sideways, right? So I think the last thing we should be doing is rallying to get rid of a guy that it had all 15 points on Monday Night Football for the Rams, which was honestly a pathetic showing. Had 8 of the Rams' 26 points against Seattle. Had 12 of the Rams' 18 against Chicago. Like, come on, guys. Like, I mean, this is what I'm talking about, is that, like, do you want to go back to Sam Sloman or Lucas Haversick? You don't. So just let this guy do his thing. It's honestly silly to me to even debate it because he's been so good this year, in my opinion. And that kick, it sucks. And obviously you have to have it. But at the same time, Stafford, I know he had 4 touchdowns, should have had 5. He missed an open Cooper Kupp. And if he did that, then, Josh Carty's not kicking that field goal, and, who knows? But I also, Alexis, I wanted to get your thoughts on the secondary, because I think we glossed over them a little bit, and the linebackers, mainly Omar Speights, because I think we touched on Roseboom. What are your thoughts on Omar Speights? Because, like, I understand, he might not have been ready, and maybe that's why it took him long enough. I'm going to actually say I don't think it was that he wasn't ready. I think they just made the mistake and waited too long. He looks exactly like he looks. He looks exactly like he looked in preseason. And as you brought up, Roseboom has played well as of late. I think Roseboom's played well because Speights has been on the field. And I was really enthused with the way they used Speights as Ernest Jones in this game. He blitzed, and he got 3 pressures in this game, Alexis, as an inside backer. So, yeah, what were your thoughts on Speights?
I like him. I think he looks really good. I mean, he's not the flashiest type of, linebacker that maybe, some Rams fans, when they're thinking of like, oh, we need to get a linebacker, they're thinking of, something like that. But I thought that Speights looks good, and I agree with you. I think that's also why Roseboom is able to have some of these bigger opportunities and is able to play, better. I still think I would like the Rams to look into maybe getting more of a presence, at linebacker. I don't know that I've seen enough from Speights to be like, that's the guy for the foreseeable future, right? At middle linebacker. But he looks good. and he should have been playing. I think this entire season. I think, like you said, it took way too long to get him out there. Um, and if he can remain consistent and Roseboom can remain consistent, I think that's going to quell a lot of our fears about what's going on at linebacker. Because I mean, to start the season, it was just brutal. I mean, I don't know that there was a worse linebacking core in the league, as you and I touched on several times when we were doing these episodes at the beginning of the season. I mean, it's just unacceptable performance, at linebacker. I think that they're getting better. I don't know that they're where we would like them to be. I would say, still looking at this defense, I think linebacker and cornerback are our two biggest weaknesses. So I think it's better. I definitely think that out of all the guys we have, Spates is the answer, having out there. As far as corner, like you brought up, I, you know, again, I don't know that the secondary is as strong as maybe we all would like it to be. I like, what's going on. Kobe Durant's looked really good. Cameron Curls looked really good. Um, but some I don't know. I don't know. Is the question how I think they look in general or what I think they should be doing? Because those are two different.
Well, I mean, it's really just kind of addressing, because I think a lot of people were really underwhelmed with the corners, but I just think it's really hard to like judge corners when they're playing in zone coverage the way they were. And I feel like a lot of fans want to judge them like this is bump and run man coverage. They're not doing that every play. And, I feel like, especially that touchdown on Akello, I mean, he's playing off man. The safety's supposed to be there. He leaves, so he has no help. He's also playing outside leverage. The receiver goes inside. This is all part of the play because they're playing quarters coverage. And so because he had no safety help, he had to break on the ball, and he almost got there. And so, people are like, oh, yeah, he got burned. Well, I've never heard in a million years up until yesterday getting burned on a slant. I don't know about you, but I've never heard that in my life. But I thought there was a lot of that where like fans were like really upset, about like the way they gave up some of those catches. And it's like, that's the defense they were in. Like they were playing quarters pretty much the majority of this game. And you have dinks and dunks left and right. And I have no judgment towards the Patriots, because if you want to beat this Rams defense, especially when they're putting up 28 points on the offensive side of the ball, you have to dink and dunk. You have to slow down the pass rush, because they tried to run the ball 20 times, I will add, with Ramondre Stevenson, who's very good. And once again, no one's talking about. They're just saying these running backs are mid and everything is mid, and Saquon Barkley's going to roast them over an open fire. But I keep watching this Rams run defense, and they continue to hold, all these running backs down. So I've done, I've done a lot of research on this, and I've been really impressed with what I've seen out of this defense, kind of changing everything about them, except the pass rush. They always had that, but the pass rush has gotten better. The run defense is night and day. They were the worst run defense before the bye. Now I think they're one of the best over the last 5 games. But when it comes to, these corners, going back to that, Alexis, Akello Witherspoon gave up 40 yards. Spates gave up 33. Curl gave up 33. McCullough gave up 29. Hoyt gave up 28. Durant gave up 27. Quentin Lake gave up 27. Darius Williams gave up 25. Kinchins gave up 14. Roseboom gave up 14. Young and Verse gave up 6. And Hummel gave up 0. This is what happens when you're playing quarters coverage. Like, that's not a bad day at the office at all. And I just feel like people want these corners to just intercept everything that goes their way and pass break everything that goes their way. And that's just not grounded in reality. The reality is that's a really good day at the office. The Rams had a really good game. The 22 points shouldn't have even happened because they get a stop on that 3rd and 11. And the Jared Verse, and I disagreed with the call, but regardless, the Jared Verse penalty that gives them an automatic 15, that continued that drive that they ended up scoring on to our friend Vidarian Lowe. But it continued that, and I know of all, I can't.
Of
Um,
all people to do it, they had to throw it to a downtown Rams guest.
an offensive
Good
lineman,
for
and it
him.
was against the Rams. Like, of course,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, good for him. I was happy for him, to be honest with you, because I felt really good
Yeah, me
about them
too.
winning anyway. And it's like the touchdown
Yeah.
already happened, and I was like, oh, it's Vidarian Lowe. I even tweeted it out.
Hmm.
But that play, that third down, and then the penalty, because I mean I thought Sean Smith's crew was abysmal. It just really bad. But that calling that on verse, whether you agree with it or not, that extended a drive in which they had negative yards at that point. It was 3rd and 11. And basically, they got penalized because they forced a fumble and it caused this giant scuffle. And then, of course, Verse, lightly has his hand on the back of a guy's neck and kind of, takes him back off the pile a little bit, which happens all the time. They throw a 15-yard penalty. And now the defense that just got a stop is giving up a touchdown on the other end. So I don't think that 22 points was truly what we watched. I felt like this really was like a 38-14 ball game. That's how I felt. And I think a lot of people have said the defense looked really good, but I've also seen quite a few people that said, wow, the defense has to be better than this. And I'm like, I don't know what you want. Like if the leading, like the most yards that anybody in your secondary or your linebackers or whatever gives up is 40 yards, that's a really good day at the office. Like, I'm not complaining about that at all.
Yeah. Again, I think that as the season goes on, I think people are getting more and more perspective, particularly about the defense. And it's not perfect, but it's getting better, which is all you can ask for. And I think that they're resilient as hell, which is
Yeah.
important, to have. They make their mistakes, but I think they're working through it. Um, and in closing, Jake, I am going to show off my hoodie to everyone who is watching on YouTube right now live. I was telling Jake that I'm gonna get flamed for this hoodie, no pun intended. This is basically, I am an adult version of Hot Wheels with this on, but I like it. It's a black hoodie with like pink flames on it, and I don't care what anyone has to say. So feel free to bully me for it. I was like, I'll proudly show this off. There are matching sweats that came with it, but I told Jake I didn't get the matching sweats. That would have been a little obnoxious, but
You would have
I
looked like a
did
NASCAR
get the.
driver.
Yeah, I mean, I already, like I said, I look like a Hot Wheels car with this on, but I do like it.
You look like,
And yeah,
I mean, I already said it. You look like Jeff
no,
Gordon.
no, people can see there. See,
Yeah, like with
look
the
at
flames.
this is intense. This is very intense. But everyone's always commenting on my hoodies because I'm always wearing some variation of a hoodie. So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
proud. I was telling Jake before the show, I was like, I'm definitely gonna get bullied for this, so I'm just taking it in my own hands and saying I don't care. Which
I'm
is what
with
I would
you.
tell Joshua Carty if all of these people want to bully him. Uh, yeah. So
I've worn some. I mean, I wore a Kermit the Frog shirt and no one even said anything. So like, it was just a meme shirt, but like, yeah,
yeah, but people are way nicer to you about your fashion than they are to me.
I do have good fashion
People get.
sense.
I feel like I have. I don't know that I would say I have good fashion sense. I have particular fashion sense. Like a very specific. I don't know if it's popular or not, but I'm always in the same type of attire when we record this show. Um, but yeah,
All I know is when I
just
broke
wanted to.
out the cardigan and the turtleneck, this freaking comment section was like, oh, I was like, I'll do it again. I'll freaking do it again.
I wanna show up to record one of these one day, just full goth. Like I wanna do eyeliner and like black eyeshadow, and I wanna be like wearing like maybe like just like all black and like a ton of chains, and I just wanna see if people say
You
anything.
should
Well, I guess now they
do it.
would because I just gave it away.
Or
Maybe
like
I'll
wear like a
wait if people
pantsuit like
forget.
you're trying to run for office.
I love a good pantsuit. I don't care what anybody says. I have a really, really good blazer that I love. I don't have the pants. I wear it with a dress, but there is something about a power suit that makes me feel very powerful. Like if I put on a pantsuit with like heels and I'm walking down a hallway, I am like, there is nothing I cannot accomplish today. I mean, I
There you
just,
go.
especially, hair done, makeup done, power suit, pantsuit, whatever you want to call it. No one would
I
notice if
I wore a suit, right, on one of our episodes recently. Thought so.
you did, 'cause when you came from the wedding and we had to
God, what
record.
wedding was
You
that?
Or it was a rehearsal dinner, I think. It was the rehearsal dinner. Sorry, not the wedding. You
Oh,
came from a
okay.
rehearsal dinner and we had
Yes.
to record, and Jake was in a full-on suit. And I, of course, was in a hoodie, and I was like, oh God, I look so like,
It's just the
like,
brand.
just like
I don't know what
too
else to
laid
say.
back.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
I don't know. It just
but
works.
yeah,
It's like that whole opposites thing. So
that is very true. But yeah, I think that's gonna do it for us, guys. Thank you so much, everybody. We have 740 people watching live right now. Thank you to everybody who's watching us live. Thank you everybody listening right now, not live, but when this drops on audio, hopefully we did a good job of explaining what we were seeing in the comments verbally, because we're trying to work on that so that way people who are listening don't feel left out. But guys, as always, you can follow us on social media at Downtown Rams. You can follow me on Twitter at the Alexis Craft. You can follow Jake at JK and guys, we are going to be recording the preview for the Eagles game on Thursday night this week. So we will be live Thursday night because Jake is going to be at the Eagles versus Rams game. So he's traveling
I
for
am.
that. So he'll be gone Friday. So we're recording a day earlier on Thursday night. So be sure to look out for that. Be sure to look out for Jake if you're going to be at SoFi Stadium on Sunday. But guys, until then, as always, stay safe, take care, and go Rams.